Assalamualaikum teman-teman, jumpa lagi sama saya Hasmi Isani Johar. Sekarang kita akan melanjutkan episode yang terakhir dari video saya yang membahas Shaila Abdullah Saffron Dream. Kalau 1, 2, 3, 4 kita udah bahas tentang introduction dan teoris dan juga discussion di novel Shaila Abdullah Saffron Dreams. Seperti yang saya share minggu lalu. Ini yang udah kita bahas minggu lalu. Yang pertama, introduction dari Muslim Diaspora in Shaila Abdullah Saffron Dream. Kita sudah bahas some problems and also tentang Shaila Abdullah sendiri, siapa dia. Dan kita membahas tentang intrinsic element dari Abdullah Saffron Dream di part 1, part 2 tentang teoris, dan part 3 tentang teoris yang dibagi 2 karena banyak teorisnya. Dan part 4 itu adalah membahas discussion ya tentang di novel itu. Nah, sekarang bab terakhir part 5 tentang membahas discussion dari novel itu. Kenapa saya sebut discussion? Karena memang saya cenderung menceritakan penggambaran dari Muslim diaspora di novel itu. Nah, untuk finding atau investigate analisis literary text, teman-teman bisa menggunakan tadi yang kita bahas tentang intrinsic element yang dipakai di novel itu, misalnya simbol atau imagery di novel ini, misalnya untuk meng-question white hegemony, misalnya, atau meng-question the idea of orientalism yang cenderung menggambarkan Muslim woman dengan agak-agak negatif. Nah, gimana sih di novel itu dia meng-question gitu ya, penggambaran Muslim woman yang cenderung negatif itu. Nah, makanya ini yang episode yang kelima, bagian terakhir, discussion, bagaimana sih penggambaran Muslim diaspora in Shaila Abdullah Saffron Dreams. Semoga bisa menginspirasi teman-teman untuk lebih lanjut menginvestigasi atau menganalisis novel ini dengan menggunakan spesifik simbol misalnya atau metafor di novel itu untuk either challenge or support certain ideas in the novel itu. Nah, langsung aja ya teman-teman, saya lanjutkan dengan discussion yang part kedua tentang traumatic experience yang dialami oleh protagonis Arisa. So indeed, the US Muslim diaspora lives under the trauma of the political frameworks of Muslim, which is war on terror and anti-Muslim racism. The slogan seemingly works to develop prejudice about Muslim among mainstream society, as this novel describes through the way a white mother verbally abuses the protagonist and her family in a garden. The first narrator describes when Arisa goes for a picnic in a park with Ma. Ma is her mother, from her husband's side, and the ball that the children are playing with almost hits her face. So the children's mother speaks to Arisa and Ma, quote, "I'm sorry," she began, her expression sullen like a lit flame. We hurried to set her mind at ease, assuring her that the ball had not hit us. "No," she waved away, our concern, and glared at us. "I'm just sorry they miss you," unquote. So indeed, the mother is depicted as a racialist who feels upset as the ball misses Arisa and Ma, or mother, who wear the hijab. The ball represents a means to hit back at Arisa, representing Muslims, whom the media frequently associate with terrorism. So this text reveals how Arisa and Ma are perceived by certain characters, in this case US extremist American, to support the terrorists because of their hijabs. So this perception can be understood through the way Arisa described that, quote, "Affair is only supposed to convey so much. Lately, it had transcended into another role. The wearer was associated with supporting the acts of attackers," unquote. So here the hijab was not only has been transformed into a symbol of the attack supporters, but it is also depicted as a symbol for a foreign citizen who is excluded from American citizenship. So in this sense, this text not only reveals how dominant society faced Islamophobia after U.S. invasion of Iraq, but also undermines the idea of U.S.-centric trauma in 9/11 narratives by describing various traumatic experiences faced by Abdullah, woman or character. So these traumas can be seen through the way the first narrator depicts Arisa as having various painful experiences since she was a child. Thus, the protagonist's heart is firstly broken by her mother, who left Arisa to pursue her own free spirit. The first narrator learns that the reason Ami left was because of her unhappy marriage with Baba, the protagonist's mother. So the first narrator explains that, quote, the air filled quickly with thick, hurtful breathing when they were together. The unanswered questions conveying more than words could, bitterness, disappointments, and a drawn-out sadness. Like a dismal clock, those emotions landed on us, unquote. Indeed, Ami is depicted as being abandoned, the protagonist to live with her lover, Uncle Jalal. The protagonist often would wonder if Abu knew about Ami's relationship with Uncle Jalal. There was no threat of the loss of the land among the elite class, although such an alliance anywhere else in the country was punishable by law, unquote. So here, Ami and Uncle Jalal are rendered as aristocrats who are above the law, so they can leave their families to pursue their love. As the result, the protagonist faced this painful experience of being betrayed and abandoned by her mother. So by leaving her homeland Pakistan, the protagonist is expecting to have a bright future life and forget her painful memory about her mother representing her motherland. However, in the US, the protagonist gains more painful experiences. The white extremists attacked her at the underground, and her husband died in the Twin Tower. The first narrator describes when Arisa watches the Twin Tower collapse, quote, it was the North Tower of the Trade Center. The world we know was crumbling down in front of us. Glass chunk by glass chunk, metal piece, floor by floor. It was 8:55 a.m. I had slept through the moment that would forever alter my life, unquote. So the crumbling buildings represent the fragments of protagonist's home and identity. Indeed, since 9/11 attack, the protagonist's life has transformed from a happy wife to a distressful widow who is struggling to raise her special needs child, Ryan. So this depiction relates with the major debates in 9/11 studies, which tend to argue that 9/11 trauma mainly focusing on domestic trauma instead of international problems such as terrorism and immigration. So Richard Gray in 2011 argues that 9/11 novels are often flawed because what difference is diminished, a crisis is distanced or even suppressed by being accommodated to familiar and often conventional narrative structures, unquote. So although Abdullah's novel explored the idea of domestic trauma, such as being left by a mother and a husband, this text works as to question the 9/11 trauma as US-centric narratives by depicting how Muslim women have faced painful experiences while living in the US, especially after the US invasion of Iraq. The first narrator describes after the 9/11 attack, Arisa is directly walking on the Hudson Street looking for Faizan. Arisa catches, quote, Arisa catches the first glimpse of the 6-floor high flaming fire of the beast, glass, steel, concrete, and metal that were once the lowest. The towers that define the New York skyline blown away by a raging sword of fire, unquote. Indeed, steel and concrete representing, we can see or can represent the American superpower, can be destroyed by the 9/11 attack to question Anglo-American dominance both in US and in the world. Indeed, after the 9/11 attack, another traumatic experience that Arisa, or the protagonist, has to deal with is she finds out that after being attacked underground, her unborn baby will be a disabled child. Thus, the heart defect has both literal and figurative meanings here, which can be related to the Muslim diaspora who has a fragile life as a symbol of their vulnerable identity and their struggles to find a home while living in the US, and also to question American belonging. So by exploring the ideas of trauma related to the heart defect in her novel, Abdullah highlights the vulnerability of the Muslim diaspora living in the US because of Islamophobia and anti-Muslim racism. So to undermine this idea, the first narrator used the male characters to show that Muslim men honor their women and treat them respectfully instead of being oppressed as often represented in US media. So in doing so, the first narrator depicts Baba. Baba is Arisa's father-in-law as a husband who is willing to serve his wife. Quote, Baba always brew 3 cups of tea before breakfast for Ma himself and me when I woke up, unquote. Thus, this text shows how Muslims in the US live with respect and has modern views by participating in domestic spheres. So this depiction works to interrogate the way US media tend to misrepresent Muslims as oppressed and violent. Thus, this text invite readers' sympathy toward the Muslim diaspora by illuminating the struggles of US Muslim women in facing various traumatic moments, both in their homeland and their houseland. And lastly, another traumatic experience is when the extremist white American accuses the protagonist Arisa of being a hypocrite as she wears a hijab to hide her terrorist action. The first narrator described when a white man said that, quote, the veil that you wear, he continued, pulling out his knife and aiming the point at my hijab. It is all a facade. You try to look pure, but you are evil inside. You are the non-believers, not us, unquote. So indeed, the man believes that the hijab is a symbol of hypocrisy, covering a bad attitude for the protagonist to be seen as pious. This can be related to how mainstream society in general is misled about the meaning of the hijab for Muslim women. The hijab is a part of submission to God, freedom of expression, and protection from men's gaze, instead of being oppressed or violent as debating in Orientalist debate. Because of this degrading meaning of wearing the hijab in the US, and the protagonist is often seen as a terrorist, Arisa has to lose her identity, the hijab, indeed to protect herself and to live securely with the dominant society. Arisa has to lose her identity as she has to remove her hijab. The first narrator speaks to herself, quote, it was a matter of perspective. To an onlooker, I had removed my veil, but from where I stood, I had merely shifted it from my head to my heart, unquote. Indeed, here the hijab for the protagonist is a means to cover her heart, shielding it from bad attitude and behavior instead of covering her head, which invokes feeling of fear and prejudice from the American extremists such as those who attacked her at the station. So by removing her hijab, Arisa detaches her identity from her Islamic heritage. And thus this text questions the way the colonial people tend to perceive non-Europeans based on their looks and appearance, as after Brah argues previously. Brah argues that, quote, looks matter a great deal within the colonial regime of power, unquote. Look counted because of, quote, the history of racialization of look. They matter because discourse about the body were crucial to the constitution of racism, and racialist power operated in and through bodies, unquote. Indeed, in Arisa's case, her looks are not only racialized through her skin color, but also categorized through her different clothes, the hijab. In this sense, the text show how Arisa has to lose her religious and cultural identity in order to assimilate to mainstream American culture. So I think that's all we have to. You don't need to conclude my discussion in order to give you more space how you investigate more this Shaila Abdullah Saffron dreams after you get an idea from my discussion and depiction how Muslim women depicted in the novel. So hopefully you get some idea how to investigate more and in order to show your finding and your analysis by using one of the intrinsic elements, for example, symbols or imagery, to investigate this Shaila Abdullah Saffron dreams published 2009. So as usual, if you have a question, please leave comment here. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.